Well, I think your letter, John, says that we've got an option to submit something to you when you guys want it. You're not holding it over to us, that's what it says.
No,
I think that's what Corey is asking.
I've never written an order to close the school.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think that's the message I'm seeing in your message on the 24th, if we submit a plan to you that says we only use the basement, here's what we want to do.
Yeah, and I guess the biggest point I would like to convey in that fact is that that proposal has to come from the board.
Sure.
You know, those items that I included in that letter are just some ballpark, you know, things, for examples, let's just say. You know, it's not to say, if you do this, this, and this, you can use it then. It's something that we have to look at in the whole picture.
We just gotta keep trying until we get a plan that you guys do best.
We've got one.
Yeah.
Right now, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an approved plan of correction that's submitted and approved by Don and I.
Well, but it's an improved plan to put a sprinkler system in, but it's not to use the basement. You can't use the basement. Just we're on the assumption based on the height issues.
There's issues in the basement that could, if it was fully, if your building was fully sprinkled, the basement,
They would go away.
a lot of those issues go away.
Right.
Thank you.
We can't, I want to say this.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put them on the spot, but it's just, that seems to be the rub that's getting everybody in trouble. Is we don't know what the hell we can do and can't do.
Yeah.
And we don't expect you guys to make that decision for us. We have to submit that plan to you guys, tell you what we want to do, and just go do it.
Yeah.
And you'll say yes or no.
The plan that's submitted is approved. If there's modifications to it, those would have to be submitted. And right now, I mean, if you want to change something in the basement, you'd have to present that to us, and we'd look at it and show it.
I mean, obviously, our major concern is whether we can put kids down there prior to putting the sprinkler system. Obviously, that was that's ultimately the discussion. Discussion with your office has been, I would say, leaning towards not going to be able to happen until we get the sprinklers. Was I misunderstanding that, or?
Well, we haven't received anything back as an alternative.
Okay.
I mean,
The plan that was
We can't make a
submitted.
decision until we get something back from an alternative.
Yeah, the plan that was submitted said,
Yeah.
that we all signed, was that we would have sprinklers, hopefully, based on the result of a bond issue, by fall of 2015.
And
And
that
that
would correct
had
that
students
deficiency.
in the basement.
That would correct that deficiency.
And then, yeah, that was the June 24th report, that was not acceptable. So yeah, the original plan that the board, architect, building and grounds team submitted had students in the basement with a plan of putting sprinklers in there in the fall of 2015. But that was denied.
That one was denied.
That one was denied.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know, the comments that the fire marshal's office is bringing up as far as egress windows, the additional detection, fire alarm and everything, that is an appropriate, option to the sprinkler if it can be done to accommodate their needs. The other issue, as was, as far as trying to get the basement open, that is kind of being overlooked there, is we have that piping in the hallway that's right at that level, and that's an egress hallway too, which becomes an issue. As far as trying to get kids through in and out of there, you'll probably close that section off, but then you get into a dead-end corridor situation.
But they're currently using that section right now.
Where the pipe is,
Yes.
that could be an issue.
Well, they're currently using it right now, so how are they able to use it?
I think the pipe's west of the stairs, isn't it?
Pipe is east of the stairs.
Yeah. It's
So they're currently using it now, so that shouldn't be an issue then if it was occupied.
a head-
Fire marshal did verbally agree to allow the kids to get to lunch through that corridor. It wasn't a written plan, but he did verbally agree that if we did not put the students in the basement in a learning environment, they could use that still to travel to and from lunch, as long as they weren't in classes.
And
It was verbal.
And in an obvious situation of a tornado or some kind of natural
Right,
disaster.
we
that
asked him
need to
about
take
having our
cover.
tornado drill as well, and
Obviously.
he was like, well, obviously that's the safest spot for them in the event of a tornado, so we did use it for that situation as well. Did you want Ralph to address ceiling heights and the deliberations?
Yeah, it would address the different.
Well, the ceiling heights, I think Sean had indicated at one time 7 foot in existing facilities. And looking at the International Building Code, they have a 7'6" stipulation over 2/3 of the room. And the other 1/3, you can drop a bulkhead in at 7 foot for ductwork, piping, whatever. You know, that's the current, how the code is, currently reads. And I did check the codes all the way back. I do have a 1997 code, and that has not changed since at least 1997.
Do we qualify for those codes even though we're not new construction?
I'm not sure how, well, one of the ceilings I know I measured, it was a 6'10" or something like that. It's really low. I'm not sure how that got in the first place, but even at 7 foot for the fire marshal, you know, we're below that right now.
But there's that, so you didn't answer my question, that doesn't, we do qualify or we don't qualify because we're not new construction?
That's up to your local building inspector.
So he would be the guy to ask. And we spoke about pursuant to the state fire marshal.
Mr. Personnel, appreciate it. Any board have any other questions?
I'm trying to understand, where are you going to deny the basement? I don't find it in my notes.
That was verbal, then we had to push up 2 days for emergency signage. Do you have that report in front of you too, Sean?
Yeah,
There's
it's
emergency
that-
signage and exit signage.
And I can address that, let me get it in front of me here. And this is, and I apologize, I wasn't as thorough on this report as I should have been on this letter. Because in this letter, I should have taken each item on this letter and said number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and gone all the way through the 16 items. And on the ones that I didn't include on here, I should have said acceptable. Because number 3, number 4, number 7, you know, the ones that are not on this list, those dates that were written in the plan of correction were acceptable. And that's why I didn't include them on the report, and I should have done that a little bit more.
Sean, can I ask you to amend your report to tell me that, so I can have it, I can understand item 1 through 16, what is acceptable?
Absolutely.
Would you mind doing that for me?
Absolutely.
That would help me so I can understand which items we have to address and don't.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a little bit, this number 8 and number 9,
Are done,
are done, yeah,
That's
so.
okay. You can just say the.
because it said by September
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah, and I
Open your
had
doors.
come back and done
Yeah,
a
that's
revisit
fine.
to look at
That's fine.
emergency lights and exit signs and things like
I
that.
just need to know in your mind what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable. I don't see anything about the basement, and that's just proving the wing. I agree, you guys read the comments, you just proved it, I'm saying, I don't see anything you did.
It says occupancy basement right there, Jeff.
But it also says you can do these other things.
Right.
Yeah, and how that process should have worked, Mr. Ames, is after I had sent this letter on June 24th, I should have gotten something back from the board to say, we're gonna do this, and then it would have been, well, possibly been acceptable, we would have looked at the proposal,
Right.
just like it could do now.
Yeah.
But I did ask whether or not the board needed to do that, and Sean said no. That we didn't need to,
That's
as
not what
long
you
as
just
we
said.
complied. When I visited with you about this, what do I need to do to get the doors open?
Right,
Do we need to
Yeah,
respond again? You said no, as long as everything is in compliance.
right, and if the basement was occupied.
If the basement was occupied, yeah,
Right.
so he said, if the basement is occupied,
Then
then we
that-
need another plan, right? But if we want to open our doors on August 13th, the basement could not be occupied. That was verbal though.
Oh, it's verbal.
Mhm.
That's why I don't see it.
Right, and Sean's probably right, that should have been 16-point corrections and then 16-point response again to the 16-point.
Right.
And we could redo that if the board so desires.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anything else that's on that? Okay.
Appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10C, Mr. Walt.
C, the way it reads, discussion / information concerning request for public records from Copperhead Consulting Services. I understand that that was a request for information, public information. And I understand that the first 4 hours are supposed to be free. Just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that. And I understand that you guys can charge, somebody can charge a reasonable rate for